This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, JM Ryerson.
What is happening? Welcome to a Let's Go Win podcast. We are here for a Tuesday tune-up, and I have a special guest here today, Miss Lisa Ryerson. Hello.
Hello.
How are you this fine morning?
It's awesome. I'm awesome. Today's Halloween. I like Halloween.
It is Halloween, and we're trying a new shot here. Different, so we're both on camera in a different way, so it's kind of fun. We're going to talk about 3 things that we would tell our 18-year-old self. But before I get to that, I want to get to something that happened last night with our son. I'm curious myself where I'm going to go with this because it was absolutely astonishing. And yet I'm still befuddled. Befuddled is a fun word to use every once in a while.
Befuddled. I like it.
Our youngest son had his AirPods stolen at school. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't say stolen. They somehow left his bag. And again, I don't ever want to accuse somebody of stealing, but he puts it in the same place every single day. And the beautiful thing about AirPods, Apple, great job. It has the tracking on it, right? So we literally could track, hey, where did these AirPods go? They're no longer in your backpack. Where did they go? And we tracked them from his school, then to a gymnastics center, and then eventually to a home in our neighborhood.
It was crazy.
Okay. Now, at the moment I was told, I said, we're going to the house. So we show up at the front door. The first reaction the lady gives me is, it's 9:30 at night. Okay. Hi, my name's JM. Nice to meet you. My son's AirPods were lost at school. They were somehow removed from his backpack, and they're in your home. Well, my kids are sleeping. I said, well, again, that's fine, but you have my son's property at your house. We're going to get to the bottom of this. He goes to the school he goes to. I said, do you have a child that goes there too? Yes, my daughter is in the same grade. Okay, great. You'll have to wait outside. I mean, it's just so rude. And you know what blows me away? It wasn't, why are you here? Oh my gosh, it was, you're here at 9:30 at night. What are you doing? Oh, how did you get through the gates? Now, I was in my pajamas, my chill clothes, and it wasn't the nicest shirt in the world. So maybe I looked like a bum, but how did you get in the gates? And I was like, really? That's the first freaking question that you have? Well, I live here, dude. So you have my son's property. Can we get this figured out? You're going to have to wait my daughter's shower. Okay, cool. So about 10 minutes later, the daughter comes down and says, I'm sorry. I don't know how these got into my bag, and hands it back. No, real apology from the mom. And I was just like, this is amazing. So yes, thank you for getting the AirPods back. And I wish I had my wits about me to be like, I assume you'll handle this from here, because she had taken off some of the stuff on his AirPods.
Oh, like the EMS stickers were taken off.
I guess what just blows me away is, yes, it was 9:30. Okay, is that late to come to somebody's door? Sure. But how did you get in the gates? There was no we will handle this. I'm sorry this happened. There was no concern. I'm still wrapping my head around it. And it's AirPods. Is it that big a deal? No, it's a couple $100, but it's the principle of the matter.
Well, but that explains it all, right? If there's no parenting in the household, then that's what happens. Kids are going to do things to get attention. Kids are going to rebel. They need to have that structure. And that's a perfect example, in my opinion, right? From the info that I've gathered, is there's no accountability. There's no showing your children how to be a leader. And the sad part about it is our son, Trey, he's not perfect, right? But he is one of the sweetest children that you'll ever meet. He's so kind and so sweet. And he was just so floored. Mom, why would she take them? And what's funny was when he called me and said, someone stole my iPods, my first reaction as a parent was like, Are you sure about that?
You probably
I go,
lost
you
them.
probably lost them. You probably left them out,
Right.
right? Because in my mind, like nobody should do that. But I think it's also a good lesson for our son to realize that the world isn't a perfect place, right? There are going to be times where you're going to get hurt. There is going to be adversity. And how do you grow and learn from that? And to make sure that generations, right, moving forward, that we are going to uphold a certain integrity. We talk about integrity. Our kids are going to teach their kids the right way, right? And parent the right way.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I
Mhm.
got to what I want to talk about today,
Mhm.
which is what would you tell your 18-year-old self? Because the parenting I saw last night, I certainly hope that if somebody comes to our door,
Oh.
I know my reaction would be far different. Like, you get your ass down here. Did you take these AirPods? You apologize immediately. Like, it would be a far different reaction.
Mhm.
And so, again, I don't know the people, and I'm hoping, you know what? I hope to receive some form of apology to Trey to say, you know what? I'm sorry this happened. It wasn't my best way of showing up. I hope that happens, but it's not my child.
Mhm.
And ultimately, we got him back. So, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Well, the first thing I would tell my 18-year-old self would be what people say about you, what people's opinions about you are none of your business. Right? That's a huge one that that I'm still working on, right? Because when you hear people say maybe negative things about you, or it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, it kind of hurts, right? And I finally got to that, I think it was last year, where I straight told somebody, I said, listen, your opinions and what you think about me and what you say about me is none of my business, right? That's your opinion. I know where I stand. I know how I operate and I'm good with it. So it's none of my business.
You know what's amazing? It not only is it none of your business, it's a complete waste of your time because you have zero control over how they feel about you.
Right.
You put your best foot forward. Of course, you want to
Mhm.
be liked, but I coach on this often. So I love this lesson that you're saying because it's complete waste of your time, a
Mhm.
waste of your energy. You don't have control over what they think. I know you want to, right? Especially control people like my wife over here. You want to, but you don't. So I love that one. All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's cool. I hope more people hear that lesson because look, you want people to like you. You put your best foot out there, but that doesn't mean they're going to.
And you're not everybody's cup of tea, right? I know I have a big personality. I know I get crazy sometimes. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, just as not everybody else is my cup of tea, too. So I think it's just good to know because I know that in high school, you're just trying to appease to everybody. You're trying to have to be liked. You want people to like you, of course. So yeah, that was a big lesson that I'm still growing on it, but it's something that I've really, really embraced.
So what I heard in that is I'm your cup of tea.
You
That's
are my cup of tea because you know what? You have been around for a long time. And now I'm not saying that he's my cup of tea every day. I'm just saying that, I've been with you for, oh my goodness, we've been together a long time,
a
JM.
little bit.
So yeah, you're still my cup of tea most days.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. What's number two? What else would you tell yourself at 18 years old?
There's a solution for every problem because I remember adversity would pop up and I would freak out like the world was ending.
The book fell.
Books are falling. Things are crashing right now. And I just thought like that's it, right? Like this is the worst thing the smallest little things would happen and I would think it's the end of the world and things can't function much after that. But what I've realized is there is a solution for everything. You just have to be creative.
And willing to face what that answer might be. The solution doesn't always mean you're going to like it. I think
Mhm.
that's part of why people don't. You know the answer often. But you're like, dude, I don't like that answer. That
Right.
seems like it's going to suck.
Right.
But guess what? That's the answer to it. That means it's not always going to be rainbows and sunshines, but that's okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. Anything recently that you've really where back when you're 18 it would have really bothered you, but now at 36
Oh, you're so sweet. I'm 36 today.
But now you let it roll off, or you figure out, you know what, that's not that big a deal. We move forward.
Oh, I have one. This one's good. So when I was driving at 18 years old, high school, 16, 17, 18, even through college, right? And I'd be sitting there, I'd be so upset at people that would drive slow in the
Mm.
fast lane, or they drive crazy and all that stuff. Well, it wasn't until I, I got a ticket. I got a speeding ticket. Imagine that. I got a speeding ticket and I went to, it was like in person driving school or whatever. You had to take a class, right? To not have it go on your record. So I remember going to the class and the guy was talking about road rage. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I might have road rage. And he said, how do you know? Let's say someone's driving crazy. How do you know that that person isn't rushing their pregnant wife to the hospital ready to have a child, right? How do you know they don't have a bee trying to attack him? I mean, there were all these examples. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, I don't know that. Maybe there's a reason why they're driving crazy, right? Usually, probably not. But now I don't sweat it. It's not a big deal. So I make up these fun stories when they are cutting me off. I'm like, oh, well, obviously he's in a rush or she's in a rush to get somewhere. You know, they could have a sick child at home. Like, who knows what the situation is? But I make up these stories and then it just rolls off my back.
So the solution is give yourself a story and just know that, look, I don't really know what's going on in
Mhm.
their world, which that's really good advice anyway. We don't know what's going on with anyone.
Right.
The truth is, you don't know the entire history. You don't know their lens that they're looking
Mhm.
through. And yet we do make these snap judgments, just like, with the parents last night. Truth be told, I did make a judgment. I'm like, that's pretty shitty, but I don't know the whole story. Maybe there's something more to it.
Right. Right. We don't know what
Thank
kind of
you.
day she
You
had.
taught me something today. All right. Number 3, what would you tell your younger
Number
self?
3, choose happiness every day.
Oh,
Mhm. I still struggle with that one sometimes. I would say I'm happy 95% of the time.
yeah.
Don't you agree? I'm like a pretty happy person. Um, do I have bad days? Yeah, we all do. Sometimes I get stuck in a rut per se for a day, like emotionally, hormones, whatever it may be. But it's really reminding myself to choose happiness every day. Now, I'm not saying that every day is going to be sunshine and, and rainbows. I'm not saying that your entire day is going to be amazing, but I do make sure that I find something every day to do that makes me happy, or I'm choosing to be happy in that moment. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. So I would say, yes, by and large, you are a very happy person. That's
Mm.
true. Especially, I will say, maybe this is a compliment to our home. Outside, I think people see you as very, very happy all the time.
Mhm.
We see times when you're maybe not feeling the very best. When you do get in that rut, though, because often it seems like that's the one moment where I'll have to snap and be like, hey, stop. How do you self-regulate that so that you don't need somebody to? If somebody's listening, they're like, you know what, choose happiness, but I'm having the shitty day. It's happening. And by the way, the more crap, the more I'm creating negative stuff happen. And that's the funny part from the outside. When something's going poorly in your world and you keep feeding that fuel, it gets
Oh.
worse and worse and worse. But it's funny to me because I'm like, it's clear as day from the outside. And it's
Yeah.
not that I see it. I'm saying anyone could see you're creating this world for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
How do you self-regulate it? How can you
Well,
how can you snap back?
well, sometimes I don't, right? Until I go to bed that night and then wake up the next morning going, oh, it's a new day. But I have to put myself in timeout. I literally have to remove myself. So it happened. When was this? I think it was last week. It happened where literally I woke up, I was in a funk, and then I burned myself at some point, and then I I think on a curling iron, and then it got me more in a funk, and then I hit my knee on a drawer. I mean, it was like comical, right? It was like a bad cartoon gone wrong. And it was one thing after another. And I even told myself, I'm like, all right, Lise, if you continue on this track, it's just going to keep steamrolling and it's going to be worse and worse. It's going to be a bigger, bad snowball, right? By the end of the day. And so I have to put myself in timeout. I take a breather. I go up to my room. I lay down, whatever it is, take a bath. I did take a bath that day. And just tell myself like, oh my gosh, what are the 3 things I'm grateful for? Right? Like I have so much to be grateful for. Like it's so silly to get upset because A, B, and C didn't work out. Right. And I get triggered sometimes and then I have to reset.
Yeah. Well, so to review, it's none of your business or it's a waste of time.
What people say about you is none of your business.
Love that. Number 2 was there's a solution to every problem.
Mm-hmm.
And number 3 is choose happiness.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. I would love to hear what you would tell your 18-year-old self. I know Instagram, we have a lot of great momentum going on right now. So if you could share at Instagram, Let's Go Win 365, tell us, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? Those lessons that we can share, because it is clear as day as a parent now to be like, oh yeah, it wasn't that big a deal. I remember when you broke up with somebody, that's such a big deal. It's like everything in that moment. And you're like, what was their name? You know what I mean?
Did you really ever get upset though with breaking up with a girlfriend? I don't think so. Don't let him fool you on that one.
I'm sure I was mildly
I'm sure you already had the next girlfriend ready to go.
But share with Let's Go Win 365 on Instagram. Share this out with somebody. We'd love to hear more from you guys. And until next time, remember your mindset matters. And thanks for sitting in. I had a good time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You owe me.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, JM Ryerson.